Hi, everybody. This is First Seed Sports. As you can see, we have our new member with us, Mr. Dante Botts. He's going to be joining us in some collaboration on football and moving forward, working on some basketball stuff. So we're very excited to have him on board. Kyle and Mike, I'm sure you guys both agree with me.
Yeah, welcome
Absolutely.
aboard, man. Excited to have him.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be with you guys.
For sure, for sure. So without further ado, though, this is our grab bag video for the week of Monday, August 24th. We saw some interesting news this week, a couple injuries around the league, some transactions, some camp hype. So, like we usually do, we're going to break it down for you and give it all to you in a small chunk. So without further ado, Kyle is going to get us started with injuries and returns to practice.
All right. It's that lovely time of the year where everybody gets hurt and some of them return. To start, we started the week with interesting news where Kenyon Drake was found in a walking boot. And typically you aren't in a walking boot just for nothing. They said it was just for soreness, just precautionary, but that's not how it usually works. But he later came out that same day saying he's chilling. It's just precautionary, kind of giving us everybody to calm down. I don't know. Still kind of nerves me a little bit, but I'm not stressed too much. Next is Mike Williams will be out for quite a bit. He did something with the shoulder, and early reports say that it's going to be roughly 6 weeks that he'll be setting out. I know Dante wanted to say something a little bit more about this.
Yeah, man. I gotta say, the more and more this happens, I feel like the Chargers kind of made a mistake not focusing on wide receiver help during the draft. You look at who's behind them. You got Darius Jennings, Tyron Johnson, Jason Moore, all unproven talents right now. We don't know who's going to be the next best in terms of production, not to mention, Keenan Allen has a pretty rich history of getting injured at some point. So the amount of weapons that whether it's Herbert or Tyrod. Regardless of who starts, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to utilize their weapons and how they're going to move going forward.
Right. And I just wanted to make a quick comment. Two more receivers that are on that roster are Joe Reed and KJ Hill. Joe Reed, they were both young guys drafted this year, so that's why they're pretty low on the depth chart right now. But with Mike Williams going down, I wouldn't be surprised to see Joe Reed take a little bit of extra Z receiver on the outside, a little bit reps there. I know there's reports in training camp saying that he's been getting reps in the backfield too, so that's definitely something to monitor. But KJ Hill is a name. I put out a tweet rather earlier this week. He was the all-time leading receiver at Ohio State in his 4 years, so he's a slot guy to heart. So with Mike Williams being out, maybe Keenan goes to the outside a little bit more, frees up some space in the middle for him. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, just a quick point. It's been forever since there hasn't been a Travis Benjamin or a Tyrell Williams at the bottom of that Chargers depth chart that when everyone else goes down, inevitably that guy steps up. I mean, I think we can all remember at least picking up one of those two guys at some point in our fantasy careers just to have that floor. So it's an unknown for the Chargers. I think this is kind of turning over a new leaf for them. So.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Tyrell Williams, he suffers a torn labrum, and he's weirdly expecting to play through it. I think they're taking it week to week right now. He's totally down to play week one, and all power to him. But that kind of drops him in any interest I have for him. And AJ Green returned to practice on Tuesday. I know Zach wanted to speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, I always have to buy into AJ Green hype. I am a sucker for AJ Green. I know that's Kyle. T.Y. Hilton's one of your guys. I know every year you love a good T.Y. Hilton. I'm the same way with AJ Green. Last year he burned me. I took him in maybe the 7th round or so, knowing he was injured, thinking he was going to come back, and it never panned out. So to get some news that he's getting back to practice, hopefully getting healthy, even though it is a soft tissue injury and one of those leg injuries that you hate to see for a receiver especially, it gives me some optimism. So I'm hoping that getting him back on the field, getting him some rapport with Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow might have said, hey, look, man, I need you out there. And hopefully that's a little bit of a motivational tool for AJ Green.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know Green was excited to get back this year. Last year, he was probably hankering that injury a little bit more than he needed to. I don't think he wanted to play last year. This year, it seemed a little bit different. He's excited to play with Burrow. And Sony Michel is activated off the PUP list. He's going to play, and I'm not excited for that. And then David Montgomery earlier this week left practice early and suffered a groin injury. He's expected to miss about 2 to 4 weeks, and it's not looking promising for him.
Yeah, with the I was speaking of that, with the season, 2 weeks away, that's coming up. It's going to be interesting to see how much production Tariq Cohen's going to get, especially with the QB battle going on between Trubisky and Foles, which I think personally Foles is probably going to get the starting nod to start the season, just because Trubisky is just all over the place. Like, he'll start, it's hard to tell because we're not going to have any preseason games, but even if Trubisky does get the nod to start, who's to say he's going to finish, finish that game the first week based on, if he throws 3 picks the first half or runs the opposite direction like he's done before. So it really just depends on what goes on in that QB camp.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think actually I do want to touch a little bit on Foles. Kyle, are you good with injuries? Is that about all we have for the week?
That's all we've got on injuries.
All right. Well, thank God. I'm sure that we'll be talking about more this time next week, but fingers crossed. Never like to see those. But as far as the Foles-Trubisky conversation goes, the reports in camp have been just about, I think, what we would expect. It's that Trubisky's making poor reads. He's having issues with his accuracy. He's just not making the right decisions. He's kind of Benjamin Buttoned a little bit in the fact that he's just regressing in his play. And I think that, I'll gauge the room here a little bit. Do all 4 of us expect Foles to be the starter?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think so. I just think, we've seen Foles in other places other than Philly not necessarily be successful, but I think that at this point, anything's got to be better than Trubisky. And as harsh as that sounds, sorry, Mitch, but I think Foles is the go-to guy there. And I like what that means for, like Dante said, a Tariq Cohen or for an Allen Robinson, guys of that nature. I think it's going to have a really solid impact on their fantasy production this year.
Is it too early to say that he's a bust given where he was picked?
Who's that?
Trubisky.
I think he's already gotten that label.
Yeah.
I think just the fact that he was selected over Patrick Mahomes makes him a bust automatically.
And Watson. I think even just Watson makes it a bad.
They traded up. They traded up for him, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. Terrible choice. But this too shall pass. We've seen bad decisions in the past, and even take a look at the Raiders with taking Jamarcus Russell. It took them a couple of years to bounce back, but what was it? Maybe 4 or 5 seasons ago now, they were a 14-2 team or a 13-3 team. So,
Carr had his MVP season.
What's that?
When Carr had his MVP season.
Yeah. Even the blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. But all right, so that's all I got on Nick Foles moving ahead. But in other camp hype, there's some interesting stuff going on in Washington with the running back room. And Mike, go ahead, take us away on that.
Yeah, so right now, first team reps in that backfield, a lot are going to Adrian Peterson, and the other ones are going to Antonio Gibson. That's not very shocking news to me. I think a lot of people expected Gibson to have a role early in that offense, and it's looking like it's going to be like that from what we've seen in camp. Bryce Love, on the other hand, he's been with the second and the third team, working back and forth there. But I did have an interesting stat on Antonio Gibson. So back in 2018, Antonio Gibson was on a Memphis team with two other NFL running backs at the moment. He was on a team with Tony Pollard and Darrell Henderson all at the same time. And it's a really crazy thing to think about, but I'll read you the stats from 2018. Pollard at the time was a youngin'. He had no rushing yards, no nothing, but he was very active in the passing game in 2018. Darrell Henderson, on the other hand, had 214 carries his senior year, or his junior year per se, his last year with Memphis. And then Tony Pollard only had 78 carries in his last year at Memphis. So that whole system where they're giving running backs a little bit plays off here and there and saving their legs, I think that's very good for young running backs transitioning to the NFL. Preseason would be great for Antonio Gibson to get going, but I think that's why a lot of NFL teams are changing the way they do their camps now. They're trying to push the pace, more up-tempo scrimmages and stuff like that, because they need to be game ready. So just an interesting stat that they're out there. All three of those guys were very lightly used in college, and I don't think any of them have really had any serious injuries so far, and I hope that doesn't happen. But just a little something interesting to think about the Antonio Gibson situation there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then I'll touch upon the wacky news. Kalen Ballage was told earlier today that he was going to get dropped by the Miami Dolphins, but then probably a couple hours later, the Dolphins traded him up to the Jets. I don't know why. I don't know why he's being traded for, or even a sought-after product. But Adam Gase hates his teams. Ballage had an awful 1.8 yards per attempt, and that's bad. And I don't know why Adam Gase wanted to bring him in to fight with Le'Veon Bell and Frank Gore for a starting spot.
After seeing how unhappy Le'Veon Bell was, I don't know if you guys saw yesterday, he was tweeting about how his hamstring wasn't hurt and he was being held out for no reason, just because. After seeing all that, I halfway expected to see Kalen Ballage being traded for Le'Veon Bell in that update today, but thank God that wasn't the case. And I think it also goes to show that the Dolphins literally traded this guy to their most bitter rival in the whole NFL for pennies on the dollar, and they could care less. So I think that kind of really should say how much we should care about Kalen Ballage going to New York.
Not only that, they were dropping him, and then I guess for some reason the Jets were like, no, we'll take this instead. And the Dolphins are probably just like, oh, sure.
Such a big market for him. Everyone was going to come flying for Kalen Ballage.
Yeah.
So, it's just bizarre news. I don't think that there's any fantasy value for Kalen Ballage. If anything, though, I would watch him to take some of the starter Frank Gore's touches. No, you guys caught that? No, come on. That was a Frank Gore joke.
Frank Gore.
No, just joking. He should take some of maybe take some of Bell's touches if he sticks around for the regular season. So,
right.
Yeah, he shouldn't, but it's Gase, so
right.
He probably will.
Yep, we are not fans of Adam Gase here.
No. So, all right. From there, I think our only topic that we have left is our weekly Hard Knock Roundup. And for that, that's the whole reason we brought Dante on board. He was the only other guy with an HBO account. No, I'm joking.
And I finessed that account too. I didn't pay for that.
Never pay for it.
But yeah, just to since this is my first time talking about it, I gotta say it's pretty interesting. Just the first time having two different teams, the dynamic and how they show how each team is being coached, especially during this time, during the pandemic. I think the fact that they're not having any preseason games kind of takes a huge chunk of that anticipation for each episode. Because personally, that was one of the main reasons why I watched Hard Knocks, was to see the underdog story kind of get his shine in one of the 4 games, and hopefully get that spot. I don't know how. I can imagine it's 10 times harder to impress the coaches when you're just starting to get pads on right now. So seeing that dynamic between player and coach is interesting. Obviously, you get the Aaron Donalds for the 8th time in 10 years. Feels like because they always do the Rams, but I don't mind seeing him. He's the best defensive player, in the league right now. Same thing with Joey Bosa. Always like seeing him, especially after him getting that payday. But one of the takeaways from this episode, we talked about that rookie, 7th rounder, that linebacker.
Right.
I don't know if you guys remember his name, but he has that connection with Brett Favre, and his dad being the strength and conditioning coach for the Packers back when Favre was playing, and also him being the best man for Favre's wedding. I didn't realize how close they were, and I think that's pretty cool how they were able to tie that in. And it's moments like that they have to try and push on further. One thing I just read was that this episode 3 was the least viewed episode in all of Hard Knocks since it started. So again, that a big chunk of that is because of what's going on in the world right now, and there's nothing they can really do about that. But it's still nice to see players move in slow motion with like crazy music, and to hype them up just to perform under their expected projection like they usually do. Hard Knocks always makes like the 7th rounder look like the next great thing. So
Yep. Yeah, it's been interesting. That's a crazy stat you had, Dante, because honestly, this was my favorite episode to date. So it could be that the first 2 were not what people were expecting, and maybe they just had a turn of feelings and didn't want to watch the next episode. But some of the things that I took away: Aaron Donald, absolute beast mode. The guy can't be blocked. 1 guy on him, 2 guys on him. It didn't matter. They did a segment where the Rams went through like a live scrimmage the other day, and Jared Goff said that it was his first time going live against Aaron Donald, and he was sacked every single play, sack after sack. And it was crazy to actually see how fast Aaron Donald gets to the QB. So he looked great. Keenan Allen, on the other hand, doing his thing. He looks great in camp, has a great connection with Tyrod, it seems. And even Justin Herbert, too. Justin Herbert, if you didn't see in the second episode, went up to him and he was like, hey, I'm here for you. I'm here to get you the ball. So they're working on their relationship still, stuff like that. Like Dante said, with COVID, everything's a little bit different now. In the third episode, they finally steered away from COVID a little bit and started to focus on more football things and stuff like that. And one thing I actually thought that they missed from the episode is a lot of reports are coming out about Joshua Kelly and his use in that running back system. I wouldn't necessarily call it a committee right now, but from what they're saying is Joshua Kelly looks really good and that he's getting his carries in camp with the first team, and he's producing. He has a lot of yards per carry, so he looks really good. And Hard Knocks, unfortunately, did not show any of it. So that's going to be something to look forward to too, as Hard Knocks finishes up in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I believe, something like that. So we'll see how the rookies turn out.
Yeah, I think. Are we good? Is that about everything that we have?
Yeah, that's it for me for Hard Knocks for now. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, I'm all set.
All right, fantastic. Well, once again, Dante, welcome aboard. We're happy to have you.
Welcome.
Kyle, I'll throw it over to you just to wrap us up and take us off.
All right, everyone. We talked about how Kalen Ballage and Adam Gase is trash, and how we all think Nick Foles is supreme in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Hope everyone stays safe, stays healthy, and has fun.
Peace, guys.
See ya.